All right, question 12. Y equal to a times x minus 2 times x plus 4. In the quadratic equation above, a is a non-zero constant. The graph of the equation, the xy plane, is a parabola with vertex c comma d. Which of the following is equal to d? Okay, so they give us the equation, right? And what happens if you just look at the equation and we're trying to solve for d, well, so if you just look at the equation, we don't have d there. Okay, so how are things related together here? Well, we know on the parabola, right, the graph of the equation contains this point as c comma d, right? And this point is on the graph. So whenever we say we have a point on the graph or a point go through is on the equation, we can always plug in the x and the y value of the point into the equation. Okay, so this will be the c comma d. So the first letter is the x value, the second one is the y value. So let's just go ahead and plug it in first. Okay, so what we have here is y is d equal to a times x is c minus 2 times another, here will be x plus 4 will be c plus 4, like that. Okay, so that's what we have after we plug in the c comma d. And we know c comma d is actually the vertex. Okay, they told us that. So c comma d is a vertex. Okay, so once we have that, okay, we want to figure out which one is equal to d. All right, and you look at the answer choices, they are all in terms of a. And you have a number multiplied to a. So it seems like we don't have to figure out what a is. We can just leave it there. But we do have to figure out what c is, right? Otherwise, we can't really solve this without knowing what c is. Okay, and c here represents the x value of the vertex. So how do we know the x value of the vertex? Okay, so this is a tricky part. So what happened is we have the equation here, and this equation is in the factored form. It's a quadratic equation in the factor form. So at the factor form, what we can do is we can set each factor equal to 0 and solve for x. And that x value should be the x-intercepts of the graph. Okay, they are the zeros or the x-intercept of the graph. So let's go and solve for it first. So we'll take x minus 2, set it equal to 0, we get x equal to 2, so that should be a 0. And the other one, we do x plus 4, set it equals 0, we get x equal to -4, that's another 0. Okay, and if we're going to graph it, what we have here, these numbers are the x-intercept of the graph. Okay, so that's where the parabola goes through the x-axis. So we should have a point at 2, we should have another point at -4, like that. Okay, so this is 1, 2, and then we have 1, 2, 3, something like that. Okay, so we should have a point -4, a point at 2, and then the parabola. Let's just assume it opens up for now. Okay, so just assume that that's something, looks something like that. But the actual graph doesn't matter. What we need to recognize is the two zeros are at -4 and 2. Then we have to think about the vertex is always going to be right in the middle. Okay, so the vertex is in the middle of the parabola, so it should be symmetrical on both sides of the vertex. So what we're looking for here is the line of symmetry. Okay, so we have -4 and 2 as our zeros. We know the symmetry should be at -1. Okay, because -1 is halfway from -4 and 2, right? 3 units away each side. You can also add -4 plus 2 and then divide by 2. We can average the two number. And that should give us the isosymmetry, which is -2/2, that's -1. Okay, so we know no matter where the y value is, the x value, the vertex, have to be right on the asset symmetry. Okay, so let's just say if that's the vertex, then the x value of the vertex should equal to 1. All right, equal to -1. Okay, x value of the vertex -1, which is actually the c value, right? So we say c value, the vertex is a c comma d, so c should be -1. Okay, so once we know that, we can go and take that and plug it into our equation and solve for d. Okay, so c -1 minus 2 times -1 plus 4. And this is a times -3. And then -1 plus 4 is 3. So this will be a times -3 times -3, which is -9a for this one here. Okay, -9a. And so letter A will be our final answer for question 12.